Hi, welcome back to ReaL. I'm Keara Bennett.
And I'm Beevers.
And today we are joined by Lauren and Courtney Winfield-Hill.
Woo! You alright? You excited?
Well, I'm a bit nervous about what you're going to throw at us.
You are not nervous.
You've gone quiet.
Episode 4 and we brought in the big guns. So, as we always do, we'll start with a brief intro. Well, I'd say brief. I don't think you could do you two in brief. You've both got a lot on. I'll start with Courtney. This is a little bit about you. So, Queensland Fire for 10 years, Brisbane Heat for 3. She went on walkabout and went to sprinting in 2014 and won your debut race in the 100 metres. 2018 started rugby league at the Rhinos, won the Woman of Steel in 2019. 2020 went to NRL 9s at Sydney Roosters, made your international debut in 2022 with the World Cup.
Wow.
Cool.
Busy in both sports.
A couple of years.
Couple. I think you're pushing it with couple. Loz, your debut for Yorkshire was in 2005, whilst captaining 10 years. Brisbane Heat for 2 years, Yorkshire Diamond for 3 years, Hobart Hurricanes for a year, Adelaide Strikers for a year, Northern Superchargers for a year, Melbourne Stars for a year, and then currently playing for Northern Diamonds on the 3rd year and Oval Invincibles for 2 years.
I'm really pleased I've got past a year by the sounds of it. It's not a good sign, is it? For a year and they don't get you back. Yeah, I've got loads of shit.
Yeah, it's all about the sponsorships. Sign us up then.
Okay, so going back to the beginning, what makes an Australian move to the other side of the world?
Exhibit A. Guilty. Now, I always say love does weird stuff to the chemicals in your brain and you leave beautiful warm countries for cold ones.
It's pretty warm today.
It actually is quite beautiful today, but yeah, literally, I think as a youngster playing cricket, you always kind of want to come across to England and do the county thing. Like that's kind of a cricketer's dream. I suppose maybe I might have done that, but yeah, meeting Loz was kind of, I had no choice really. She put her foot down and said, "Stick it on distance." I'm not budget, so I could do. Yeah, basically. So yeah, here we are.
Something Cuthbo always said to me was, because I always ask Cuthbo, I was like, why have you come to England? I was like, why would you leave such a beautiful country? And he said something that's always stuck with me. He said, people always want what they don't have.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is mad. Even if I didn't have England, I'd still want to be in Australia, but each for their own.
Yeah, no, it is true. I think apart from, I don't mind the cold stuff, and I especially love the snow. That's a real novelty for me, but I don't like it for 7 months of the year. I can handle it bits and pieces, but yeah, I do struggle for months at a time.
Did you ever think about you staying in Oslo?
Yeah, like, well, we tried to, we've been over most years really. Yeah. But I guess it was like where Courtney's obviously the old chuck, so she was a little bit further down the sporting line than I was in terms of my career and stuff. And playing for England, it was just like all year round. Yeah. Winters were overseas and in different countries all the time, so it wasn't really possible because if you held a central contract, you have to be in England to train and stuff. Okay. Maybe hopefully now a bit more flexibility with being able to come back and forth. Hopefully we get to go back a bit more now.
Nice. Try and bounce between the two will be nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will be. So a big question that I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds: how did you both get into cricket?
Well, to be honest, like it's just like the standard answer, isn't it? Really, like I just love sport. Sport was always my thing. It was never just cricket. Like I actually really loved football, netball, just any sports. I wasn't like. In school, it was just PE and sports. I wasn't too fussed for anything else really. And I was like quite late into just sort of going just to cricket really. It was probably only when I was about 20 that I was like, okay, like I'm gonna just sort of put the other sports to one side and just go all in for cricket really. But I still love other sports.
Yeah.
It's just because we've signed a dotted line that we can't play other sports.
Yeah.
And like, it was just one of them things where like you have good experiences in the sport. Like you played loads of different sports, but I just got really good opportunities with cricket, and I really like the people and like the girls, the coaches. So it's like, all right, well, I'll go that way. But it wasn't really necessarily that I was better at cricket than I was at other sports. It was just that was sort of the path that was like presented.
I think mine would be similar, I suppose. Family just love cricket. If you're an Aussie, cricket's happening in the summer. And I had a family who, you know, Christmas Day it was, you know, Boxing Day cricket and all that kind of stuff. Beach cricket everywhere. So I suppose that was our little intro to cricket. And then, yeah, I had a great PE teacher, a bit of club cricket, and then it was just, biggest thing was opportunity. I wouldn't say cricket was my biggest love, but they said, oh, we'll give you a contract and we'll pay you to play. So I just kept going with it. So, yeah.
Nice. So you met as being part of the same team, yeah. So what was it like being in a relationship and being a part of that same team? Like, what's the dynamic like in terms of that?
Well, we've never actually, apart from the second year you came back when you were pulled in for injury, we actually weren't ever together and on the same team until that second year.
We got together after.
Yeah. So,
but it's funny. Like it's been a funny dynamic for us. Like, more like both been playing in the same team, but then even now, like the dynamic of coaching and playing.
Yeah.
Like I'm playing, Courtney's coaching me.
Yeah.
I always struggle because I was just like, you have to put a different hat on. Or so like even in like a playing sense, if we played together, or she'd like give me some feedback about something, or like, what did you do, or whatever. I'd be like really sensitive and be like, oh, say that.
she didn't do it like that either.
Flipped.
Drop the bottom lip, silent treatment, and I'm like, what?
I'm just
But
being
it's
a coach.
it's just different, and you got to put on different hats and stuff. But playing together is really fun. Like, I think Courtney, like I always say it from like when she coaches me and playing like as a player, but then player to player is like we couldn't be more different. Yeah. Honestly, like the way we think, the way we act, the way we are, we're like two ends of the spectrum, big time. But it's quite good because it's like. I always think so. Like she's my blind spot. Like the bits that I struggle with or miss out on or don't see or whatever is like that's Courtney's bit, and then vice versa.
Nice.
I think when we were playing together, like we were terrific mates, weren't we, initially? And then when we were playing together, I think Loz was definitely someone. Like as a bowler, I really loved it when Loz used to field it like mid on or mid off, particularly mid off, because they're quite close to you when you come back to the top of your run up. And I always felt I could gauge with Loz. I'd say, oh, I'm thinking this or I'm thinking that. Do I bowl this? Do I bowl that? And she'd go, yeah, or do what you just did.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I used to really enjoy bouncing off her, and I think I really trusted her opinion. So yeah, just from a...
you know that.
So that was always really good. But we have played against each other, which was even more fun.
But it only fun for one side, though.
I was thinking, did we ever play against each other? Yeah, no, we have played against each other.
And Lozzie doesn't like that much because I'm a bit of a...
She's just a rat, like she's like a little chihuahua just yapping away, chirping, trying to get under your skin. No, you're not supposed to treat me like that.
No, you used to do that with Rhinos as well. You'd be on the other team from there, and she'd just be in your head, just yapping away.
I never got that on the left side.
It's like my mates, like Australian, and like when Courtney and I got together, like, oh God, I remember her. She used to chirp me from the other side. Or they'd be like, oh yeah, she sprayed me and she said this to me or whatever. I'm like, yeah.
My favourite ones are, oh, sweet angel.
Sweet angel. Yeah,
So
I
Sweet
can't
Angel.
do aggressive very well, but I throw a sweet angel at people.
It's very chat.
Apparently that's not really aggressive.
No, I don't think it'd be very. Yeah, total opposite.
Someone has said, settle down, sweet angel.
I remember.
I remember. I was
Kill 'em
at
with
that game, I
kindness.
remember.
So, going off of cricket, you've played at Leeds, but why Leeds?
Well, I think this just was where we're going to live, hey? This was going to be our home base, and obviously with Laws and her cricket, everything here is mainly based around Headingley. So we're going to be living in Leeds, and I had the connection with Joel Moon's dad, who I taught with back home in Oz. So yeah, when I came to watch, I remember my very first game here at Headingley was the last game before they pulled the South Stand down, the old South Stand.
Oh.
So it was quite an electric atmosphere that night. That was my first experience with the Rhinos, and I just loved it. I thought, this is cool. And then when I knew I was coming back the following year, I was like, well, I saw on socials and stuff, and yeah, so that I wouldn't have played anywhere else. I didn't know the landscape of rugby league over here. I didn't know who was good, who was ordinary. I didn't know anything. I didn't know people. I had no connections to clubs. So it was just an accessibility and conveniencing, I guess.
Mm.
But then I learnt to love yous.
Oh, that's nice.
Didn't take too long, did it? So, from cricket to rugby, how was the transition? How did you find it, the physicality and stuff like that?
So, I think the biggest transition was the freezing cold before physicality, because the first week that the Rhinos played, did you play that first?
We're at Bradford.
Yeah. Did you play that game?
Yeah. I was on the bench to start with, and luckily I had a subcoat. But then I think I ended up putting 2 on.
Yeah.
It was Baltic.
Yeah. So that was my introduction. So, and you and your dad and your brother, everyone came across and stood in the stands that day, and I thought, wowzers, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get my kid off. Like, to play this stupid game. Like, the following week was against Wigan, and I'll never forget that it might have been like a kick return or something. And I got tackled, can't remember who by, but I felt my brain rattle. And I thought to myself, I actually thought, Courtney, you're too old. You're too little. And you were sitting in the stands, you came across watch, and I know after the game you said, oh, I'm not sure how I feel. But it's like anything, it's just conditioning, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, you build up your volumes and your loads and put on a little bit more weight, I suppose, as well. And you just become accustomed to it in the end, and instead of, I wouldn't say avoiding it, I would never say avoid, but you thrive on the physicality. Like, I really loved the David versus Goliath tale that I used to tell in my head as a little person. I used to quite enjoy the big people running it, So
I used to love pre-seasons where we'd all be in just our training kit, and you'd be in joggers, gloves, a hat, a subcoat, and even after doing a conditioning session, she's still wearing them, and we're like, we're all going, it's red hot here. And she's like, no, it's not.
layers on layers.
Yeah, like an
my
onion.
God, it's so hot, I can't cope. She says, oh, it's not hot. It's 28 degrees.
I said, I don't even need to put deodorant on yet.
No, I remember Lois would always be like, you can't play with them gloves on because you were passing by. No, that.
So, winter pre-seasons were difficult.
We got through them though.
I did. Here we are.
Not missing them.
So you're both very career driven. Obviously, how hard is that going through the highs and lows of each other's careers, and what do you do in terms of balancing that out for each other?
It's hard. It is hard because I think you're never in the same you're never in the same place. It's like a team, isn't it? Like, we're a team, but within a team, you could have the best day, MVP, player of the match, whatever, and you've had an absolute stinker. But you're in each other's spaces, and you're like buzzing, and you're devastated.
Yeah.
And it's very similar. Like, if I have a bad day, and then I'm going to watch Courtney the next day, and then she's had an absolute stellar day. Like it's hard because you're in two completely different places. It's nice when you both have a good day. It's just it don't marry up all that often.
Yeah.
But it is like sport is emotional, isn't it? Like you're all in and you wear your emotion, and the person closest to you gets the brunt of the highs and the lows.
All the time.
But yeah, it's just I think we're a lot better now. Where I think like you probably get a bit older and not as emotional about it. You know, if you have a bad day, it's like, never mind.
It's just one of those.
Yeah, and equally, like when you have an absolute day out and you probably don't get as high either. You just sort of float along in the middle a little bit more.
Yeah.
A little bit more easy. But yeah, what's your take? Because I'm an emotional wreck. So you'll be like, yeah, you're awful.
Can you ask the question again so I can be a bit more specific for you?
Okay, so you
How do we...
support each other through the highs and lows of your careers?
Well, I think, yeah, we're definitely better at it more and more, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I'm worried. I think we're getting better
I'm
and
worried
better
about
at
what
it.
you're going to say, but I just said that as well.
I think we're getting better and better at it. But it takes some absolute big conversations and meltdowns to get to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many times when you talk about perspective where sometimes for me I'm really big on it's a game. So sometimes Lauren's reactions to performances or selections or what have you, she gets quite emotional.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're not standing over a baby's brain operating. Nobody's died. It's fine. So that's really hard. And so when I come to it with that head, I'm in big, big trouble. So I've had to learn to be a little bit more sensitive, I suppose, and maybe on the flip, like I'm very casual about how I go about things. I have an intensity about me, but I'm also very casual. So sometimes Loz has to be the head down, sort your life out, are you organised kind of person for me?
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'll just float along and what will be will be.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how we kind
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit. We've been on different journeys. If I have a meltdown, and it's like, well, it is a big deal because it's like for me, it's like my job. You're paying your car insurance, you're paying your mortgage, whereas you've got a different perspective because you've had other things throughout your career. So you're a teacher and a full-time professional, whereas I've found it harder when you don't have anything else.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like it's really interesting because I was like even like speaking to my sports psych last week, and she's like, you know, like the dynamic of women's sport, but cricket is like changing rapidly in terms of all the comps and the money that's getting thrown around and stuff like that now. But it's like it's very quickly gone from like a chilled out hobby to like professional, but you know, kind of, but not really, to like it's business.
Yeah.
And it's like actually you're trying to keep that little child that was just playing for fun, but you're a commodity and you're a part of the business.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I always think like we've had very different journeys as well. And so in some ways, like Courtney, I try and take bits from Courtney's perspective is because it's easier to balance when you have other things. You know, whether it's teaching or coaching and, you know, rushing back to come train for the Rhinos or whatever, there's always something that like humbles you and brings you sort of distracted and away from it, where I've struggled with that a bit more because it has been very like immersive.
Nice.
It sounds like a good balance in terms of you've both got different attributes and they do say opposites attract in certain ways, so it seems to work very well.
Here we are.
So if you see Courtney mowing grass outside, you know
Every Thursday, where are you going?
She's got a very good attribute. She's good on the garden. my attributes on the garden, no.
You're not allowed near the garden.
No, I didn't. I thought that'd be the case. It's your baby, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every game day, go home and mow your grass.
If she's stressed, it out of the grass.
Sometimes my grass gets mown like multiple times a week. I actually, like my little, what do you call it? Like my little board at home, hey? You know, in the office.
Oh, your little like vision board.
My little vision board,
Yeah.
me board, little reminders board, actually has a photo of Wilson and I mowing the grass.
How is Wilson doing it?
Well, he's with me. He's my sidekick. But like, for me, mowing the grass,
It's like therapy.
it's like literally like meditation, like therapy.
Yeah.
And I like to do it really nicely. But it also allows me just a minute to think. So whenever we'd finish rugby, you guys would say, "Oh, you're coming to the pub for a quick drink." Nah, see ya. If there's daylight, I'm heading home because I want to mow my grass. Kelsey Gentle's mum pulled up one day after an England camp, and I'm mowing the grass out the front. She pulled over and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Mowing the grass." Still in me full kit. She was like, "Mowing the grass." She said, "Kelsey's at home absolutely flat out dead after a 4-day camp." And I said, "Oh no, this is my routine." So
So you've talked about being each other's support networks, but obviously you travel a lot with cricket. So how does that incorporate? How does the distance affect lifestyle?
big time. Well, I mean, until this year, I suppose working full time and rugby and what have you, Loz was away a lot, and I'd quite often be home on my own. I know Butcher would always say, "Where's Loz now?" "Oh, she's away." Oh, Butcher was shocked, and it just became sort of our norm, not a norm that I sort of was enjoying in the end, hence why I'm not coaching full time anymore, which is good. But it's hard. It's constantly trying to find and making windows in your day. So I know when I'm in Oz or Loz is this side, it might be waking up at 4 a.m. How many times you don't ever wake up at 4? Never.
I didn't need to because you did.
It's setting alarms to catch each other. Okay, what do you got on tomorrow? And it might be someone stays up late and you literally get 5 or 10 minutes, or it's a voice note.
Yeah.
Voice notes, yeah. That was,
Which is-
that was the usual, wasn't
Yeah, which is sometimes hard. And like even this year with the 100, we're on different teams. So sometimes you're in the same country, but you're completely separated. So
Yeah.
it? You have like a schedule, but it's ever changing, like a team meeting, or you got recovery or whatever. So you'd be like, okay, well, I'll catch up then. And then it's always
something pops
changing,
up.
something pops
Never
up.
solid it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. I think that's the hardest thing about cricket sometimes is because of such a massive international space, and it's both hemispheres. The time differences are crazy.
Yeah.
But then also, even when you are home,
Okay.
I reckon 50%, 60% of the time, she's actually not home.
Yeah.
You know, you're down south, you're on trips away, you know. So she might be in the country, but she's not actually home. And that's why I know I used to say to you guys, and you'll never actually appreciate or understand what the Rhinos was for me, because Loz was always away. So Rhinos was my little consistent.
Yeah.
Like I had more Rhinos in England than I had Loz,
Yeah.
to a degree. So yeah, it was nice.
Powerful. On the back of that though, so obviously you've toured to like a few places. What's been your favourite one?
Well, South Africa, you got to come out to South Africa.
Repping.
Oh, right.
You did that on purpose, didn't you? Have you been talking about this before?
Come on, pre-planned with Courtney. South Africa was really cool. Beautiful country, wasn't it? It was amazing.
Bucket list.
Yeah, like some of the grounds are amazing, but just having like beach and mountains, great food, lovely people, and like we were just saying, for a lot of years I've toured on my own because Connie was working full time, and that was a trip where it was almost just after we decided like you'd work a bit more like consultancy and like choose your own diary really. And that was one of the first sort of trips, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then we did about 3 countries in about 4 months.
Yeah, we did actually.
But I'd say that's probably up there. Like, I like Oz because Oz feels like home for me, like, in a way. But to be honest, like, they're all, I mean, it's like hard to look past Queenstown in New Zealand.
Yeah.
We're pretty lucky. Like, cricket is a sport where, you know, Sri Lanka, the people are the most beautiful people you'll ever meet. So, like, we go to some really nice countries. Yeah.
Nice. What's your favourite place you've been to?
Australia.
Is it?
South Africa, that was like massive bucket list for me.
Mm-hmm.
Always wanted to go on safari. Like, we went on safari, didn't we?
I didn't even mention safari.
Like, that's always, and saw first giraffe, and I was like, oh. Ryan was like, what's wrong? I was like, no, I'm just overwhelmed. It really was. So yeah, I'd go back to South Africa in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Caribbean was fun.
Yeah.
Definitely go back there. But there's lots of other places I'd love to go with cricket or with sport. You know, some of the African developing nations. I'd love to get across to like USA and Canada, who are starting to develop the game there.
Hope they listen to this.
We'll tag it. We'll tag
Even
it.
you tell Lois we need a pre-season in one of those countries. Sort us out.
Well, I was quite hoping that was it the Toronto? Was
Oh,
it Toronto
yeah.
Nines thing?
You always said you'd come back for 9, didn't you?
I did, and I stand by that.
All right.
But yeah, I suppose that's a bit of our decision around picking my own diary a little bit this year. Is Loz travels so much, and if I can join her and actually share, you know, the experience of travelling to different countries, why not?
Yeah.
So
Nice. And obviously the rise of rugby league and cricket is increasing all the time. It's come a long way. Obviously you two quite important in terms of the advance of that, being role models. How has that been, obviously developing that and being a role model to younger kids?
yeah, I never really see it as being a role model. You don't do things. I just quite enjoy it. I enjoy what I do, and I take pride in what I do, on and off field. I am opinionated, and I'm willing to share it. And if that stimulates some change, then that's great. But interaction with, you know, not just the kids, everybody who enjoys the game. I just enjoy meeting new people, and if that's through sport, then it's actually my win.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's just the old saying of you try and leave somewhere in a better place than you found it.
Yeah.
And then you guys will hopefully pass the baton on in a landscape that looks different again. So,
yeah, just same really. Like, I don't see it as like a role or part of your job, but it's just like if you can open yourself up and be yourself and share that with people, share that with kids, share that with younger. Like, I think the older I've sort of got in even things in the dressing room, stuff like helping the younger players or mentoring them a little bit is like, you know, it's good. It's growing the game in a different way.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a little bit like we probably wish we didn't have to bang the drum, but someone's got to do it, haven't they?
Yeah.
You know, in terms of women's sport, female sport, is if we don't dig our heels up and yell from the hills, then who's going to do it? Because we're the ones that are sort of living and breathing it. Yeah. And you should be in our house sometimes. The old passionate Winfield-Hills, we go on a women's sport. Honestly, and I'm like, we have to be like, right, that's enough, no more. It's be like an hour and a half of like, and this and for change for this, and, you know, the game's moving here and we could do this. And we go on and on and on. Like, we're pretty passionate about just, I don't know, just seeing things grow, isn't it, really? And seeing effort rewarded. Yeah. You know, in terms of like how much you girls train and how much you put in. You know, same with cricket. Like, cricket started. I feel like I've pretty much gone through the whole cycle of it really, because I was playing for England, wasn't getting paid, and then now the game in 10 years, like the 10 years I've played professionally, is gone at the speed of light really. But again, it's probably because females have of bang the drum 6 years ago, and change is happening, and like it's, I think as well, like I sent a, when we came to watch one of your games of late, like I haven't watched as much recently, I said, oh, I feel really emotional.
Oh,
Then
yeah,
I
she
said,
was crying.
I said, why? I said, I don't know, I just feel like I just get like that with watching women's sport, and like just a big occasion, and I just like love sport.
Yeah.
I love what it does for people, being part of a team, and like it just like I've loved being able to watch another different sport as well.
Yeah.
And sort of see like how you girls go about your business and how another sport is growing. I don't know what was wrong with me. I was like, I feel emotional watching the Rhinos girls.
Because
Like, it's cool. I think like women's sport, I think that's really powerful as well, like looking out for different sports.
I think, like you said, with the progression of cricket within the 10-year period, I think even for us, it's only a short period in comparison, and it's not professional, but the changes that have been made, like you said, are only going to make not just the sport better, but women's sport better. Yeah. And like you said, I don't see us as being role models because we're doing what we love, and we're just trying to do what we can for the next. We always talk about the next generation, don't we? So that's the most interesting part. Yeah. But next one is captaincy.
I am the captain.
All right. That's not what Loz has said.
That's my best line at home. I use it all the time. I am the captain.
Until she's run out of the house last minute and forgotten something. You bring me this, bring me this.
How did you find it?
What, at Leeds?
Yeah.
Well, it was something I kind of didn't expect, and I probably should never have done, really.
Why would you say that?
Well, Lois. It was only because Lois blew a knee out that I did it, and it was only, I just saw it as an interim babysitting role, really, because we all thought that Lois would come back and she would rehab, and get back on the pitch, but unfortunately that wasn't the case for her. But I loved it, like whether it's, a little C beside your name or not, I would like to think, even up to that point, that perhaps I did lead in a way. I don't know, you guys could tell me that.
We'll come out with a few stories once you've finished.
But no, I love it. I love a responsibility. I think it's a privilege, and I actually quite liked you girls. So
did you?
Well, compliment, quite like.
Some more than others. I prefer Beevers over you.
That does not show.
It's a less iconic combination.
No, I really enjoyed it, and I think, you look at your leaders. I was really blessed to have Butcher as a vice for so long. I think we really complemented each other. But then also, like, you just look to your leaders, but it's also the unofficial people around, the senior players that stick their hands up, and then you got your coaching staff. And as a collective, if you get that dynamic right, which I think we did for the most part, so that everyone in the whole squad and staff felt like they had someone to talk to, then you're probably nailing it.
Yeah. Well, you were very approachable. You were. I feel like I think that for me, that's what a captain is. Yeah. Someone that's approachable, you can go to about anything, and they'll always try their hardest. And the wisdom that he came out with.
Only comes with age.
Gandhi, innit? That's why I always call you. I'm like, Gandhi's here.
We were heading into a semi-final. I remember this day because we were literally all looking around like, what's going on in her head? We were heading late. We'd just finished the session. It started going dark. And Courtney said to everyone before we started walking off, she was like, everyone stop where you are. And we're like, what's happening? She went, everyone lie on the ground. We're like, what's happening? She went, everyone go on the backs and look up.
I remember this.
We're literally, every single one of us is like, what's she on about? Literally gobsmacked. And then you just started coming out with your wisdom. When we all go, we were like, that were pretty special. That were a nice moment.
We had to hold hands, I think, didn't we?
And actually, weirdly, on the way driving here today, I was thinking about that moment. And I really wish, Leanne, you had been sitting up in the stands, because it was a moment Lois said, right, over to you players. And it was just before our grand final, wasn't it?
Oh, before the final, yeah.
Semi-final against St Helens. And Lola said, right, players only zone. And it was towards that end. It was under my favourite part of the ground, under the clock. And we did. We laid on the pitch and I said, close your eyes if you want to, or look into and you know that time of night when it's just getting a little bit cool. And so the grass felt cool and the whole stadium was silent and quiet apart from the questions that I asked us. And I wish someone would have photographed that moment, because I felt like, when we all stood up from that, it just felt like everybody was...
Yeah. Which I totally agree with. Initially we were like, we don't know what's going on, but as soon...
It's quite emotional.
Why are we stargazing?
What are we all doing now? What is she having us do now? But no, honestly, as soon as you started talking, it seemed like everyone were just like, no, that's what we're here for, that's what we're doing. And I think it showed on that semi-final, the reasoning for doing it, that performance.
What were the questions that you were asking?
I can't even remember.
It was like
I think it was about job roles
like
and
sisterhood
feeling around each other and stuff like that.
I think I asked them just to think about one thing they want to walk off the pitch feeling really proud about. One thing in a teammate that they're really grateful for.
Yeah.
And then I just asked you to envisage the full-time whistle, I think, wasn't it?
I think so.
And the elation that we would feel in that moment, and it was something like that. And I was just getting everyone to think ahead and just be a bit quiet with your own thoughts, and also just to think about what you were going to do for your mate. I think that was the question. What are you going to do for a mate on the pitch?
Yeah.
On Saturday, Sunday, whatever it was.
Oh, making me emotional. Think about it. No, joking.
We know what happened. It's all good.
Yeah. Just things like that makes me think about them dog lead.
We've got to mention that. We've got to mention that. So Courtney will message
lead with the
Courtney will messaging everyone before a grand final, a Challenge Cup. Everyone messaging Courtney were messaging everyone before a Challenge Cup final and going, she messaged me going, have you got Ziva's dog lead? And I'm like, yeah mate, like why? She's like, just bring it to a game for us please. And I'm like, right, okay. And then we were all in the room. I don't think you knew this. We're all in the room, the review room, and everyone was like, has Courtney asked you for a dog lead? We were all like, yeah.
secret.
We were all like, yeah.
Oh, it was so
And
funny.
then it's because we're so late with starting, so we're unleashed before going out, so we don't have to do it so late on.
Yeah.
But only you would have thought of that.
Yeah. I thought...
My brain is...
Creative.
Yeah, it bounces around like a pinball machine. I like making connections to different things. And
Yeah.
The video
It made your
Wilson
head
made
spin.
it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
cute.
beautiful video.
I just thought you've lost Wilson's lead.
I thought mine's going to be a bit big for his neck.
Right. Yeah, that's one of my many weird things that I do, but that's just how my brain works.
No, really touches us all. No, final wonder. Both of you, what's like been your highlight of your career so far? End it on a high.
You go, Courtney, I think.
I always say it. It's the people and the connections.
Mm-hmm.
That is my highlights, and I will always feel I'll always feel like I can come back to Leeds and feel like I have a second home, and I always feel like I could walk into Headingley and it feel like home.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, that's some of the coolest stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would probably say winning the domestic comp last year with the Northern Diamonds, for a similar reason that it's like the club I've played for my whole life, with a lot of people and coaches that have sort of been there along the way. Yeah, I think the more obvious one is like the World Cup in 2017, but I think actually the Diamonds one was a real, sort of meant quite a lot, and great group, bit of a roller coaster year, so it was pretty cool.
And that was the week that we just won the grand final, wasn't it? And then you, a few days later, won that.
Yeah.
That was the week we said we put the win into Winfield-Hill.
I love that.
That was and 100.
100,
Yeah, that was pretty awesome kind of little patch. So yeah, it was nice to share that together.
Yeah, it's cool.
Legendary, really, isn't it?
I wouldn't say legendary. Fun.
She's fangirling, that's the
problem. Definitely fun. Definitely fun.
Nice.
Now, we are going to just have a bit of fun at the end, and we're going to go into a session of Mrs. and Mrs.
Let's go.
Okay? So you've both got a ball of each sport.
So the rugby ball represents Cort and the cricket ball represents Loz. Okay?
Oh yeah, okay.
So you just put.
And then for those that are
I'd
listening,
prefer a
we'll...
golf ball now.
So yeah. So, who's most likely to sulk after a loss?
So Loz came out with that one.
Big bottom lip.
The emotional ray.
The emotion.
Courtney's just...
baby.
Who is most likely to be late?
I already know this.
100%.
Remember
Did you notice the time I arrived today though?
Yeah, it wasn't bad actually, to be fair. But thinking about...
Yeah, but you then had to run back and get the things that you'd left, so then you were late.
Remember,
My high speed meters, it's fine.
remember that time before the semi-final and you were still in the shower? And Lois is ringing you on
She
phone.
rang me in the car.
Yeah.
She was like, "Where are you?" Oh, she was like, "Courtney." I was like, "G'day, mate. Hey, hey, going?" We're in the team room.
Yeah.
Oh, I ain't. I'm still coming. I thought it was Hupper. Anyway,
It was so funny. Who's most likely to deal with a spider?
100%.
Are you scared of them?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't like creepy crawlies. Yeah.
Are you used to them from your Oz?
Yeah,
it?
sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
She'd
just
pick them up and put it in her pocket. Like Ace Ventura.
Fine.
Start stroking.
I'm like that though.
Build a house for it.
This one's a good one. Who's the funniest?
I'd say Loz, to be fair.
You've only spoken to her when she's drunk. Of course.
No, I wasn't drunk. I was the drunk.
You wasn't drunk.
She was drunk.
I don't get
Her
drunk.
reception's way out, so it doesn't count.
Who's the most dramatic?
Yes. Shocking.
That's okay.
Exaggerate.
Just in touch with my emotions, Courtney.
Yep. Not everyone can mow lawn.
She's not allowed to.
Who's Wilson's favourite parent?
Oh. No.
Why?
Well, she's like the boss of it. Like, he comes to me for like cuddles, love, good time.
Yeah.
But he knows Courtney's the boss.
All right.
I'm the captain.
So
Yeah, he has to have a kiss, doesn't he, before his food?
Yeah, he has kisses before his food. We do evening affirmations before bedtime.
Oh no, what do you say?
and every person that comes to visit our house, like, we've got mates staying. Yeah, you're on the kitchen floor doing his affirmations before bedtime as well.
Yeah, we
You wanna stay in this
affirmations
house?
of the day.
Okay, I
Tell
like
him
that.
how amazing he's done and what we're looking forward to.
Can I come to you at your house?
But the funny thing is, everyone's like, you what?
But they
You
engage
do
in it,
what?
don't
And
they?
they're like, 2 seconds later, they're on the floor. And, oh, you were so good. I'm so grateful. and
Come
it's
around.
like a known thing now. Like, loads of my teammates are like, oh, you're doing your affirmations.
Come around for dinner, we'll show you.
Oh, that's nice. And finally, who is a better cricketer?
Domestic coming along.
Sorry, we've just caused a divorce.
She knows it.
No way.
How many times did I get you out the other week when I bowled
How
for
many
you?
World Cups you won? How many times you played for your country?
Yeah, but we won't have this conversation here. Lauren's a better batter, I'm a better bowler.
All right.
Yeah, fair game.
I'm a better fielder, she's a better wicket keeper.
So you were
And
opposites,
she's probably a
yeah.
better captain, so 3-2 Loz.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Good work, Loz.
Thanks, Courtney. Very kind of you.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Sweet.
Hope you've enjoyed it.
Good.
Good. The 4th episode of ReaL. So thank you for listening, and hopefully get the next one out soon. Thank you very much.
No
Thank you.
Bye.